well, this was a fun build. It's done. I tried some new things on this truck that I've never done before. The truck is painted with this Daytona yellow. It's by Model Masters. It's still a little bit in there, even though I went pretty heavy with it. And I used this Sunbright Yellow acrylic paint. And what I did was I dry brushed it on the hood, the roof, and the bed sides there, since they're such a big spot. And the reason why I did that was to try to make the paint look like it's faded, like from sitting in the sun. It's kind of hard to see, but I did it in a motion like when I'm doing dry brushing to make it look like scratches almost. Like what I would do was I would dry brush, and I would also do a combination of putting it on very heavy and then wiping it off. So I did various numbers of techniques with this paint, and it's pretty thin. It goes on pretty well, and it dries completely flat, so it does give you that kind of faded paint look. I like it. I'm happy with it. I think it looks pretty good. I've never tried that before, but I'm definitely going to try it again for a future build, which is right here. I have red acrylic paint coming in the mail, so when I paint this thing red, I will be doing that up top here and maybe up here to make this thing look faded. But that's a project for another day. This truck was pretty fun. My main complaint is the windshield. Very, very tough fit. Very hard to get it in there. The side windows are not in there. Well, one is. I was gluing it in, and once I put the interior in, it fell out. One of them fell out. I thought I could put the other one in afterwards for some reason, and I was shaking it to try to get it out. It went up under the dash. It was covered in glue. I ain't seeing that thing ever again. That thing's gone. And number two is the drive shaft for this kit. The drive shaft is really, really short. I don't know why. It did not fit. I had to make a little extender. It looks a little bit awkward, but I assume it's just better than it flat out not connecting. I did a bunch of weathering on this thing, and I didn't want it to look like it was a dilapidated kind of truck that wasn't being used anymore. I wanted to make it look like it's still being driven. So when it came to under the hood, that's still clean. No real weathering, just the headers are, you know, rusted, because they get rusted pretty quick, but everything else is pretty clean under the hood. You know, it's still being driven. It is a work truck. As for up front, I did this very, very heavy. Since this is a New York truck, I imagine this thing would be driving behind or driving on roads with a lot of salt during the winter. We just love to dump our salt all over the streets in New York, and I imagine it just sitting behind one of those salt trucks and it just kicking it up all over the front of this thing. That's gonna rust the shit out of the front end of this thing. Headlights are still kept clean, obviously. You don't want those covered up. I got these New York City Department of Transportation. I got the model from Model Roundup, same with the Massey Ferguson, and I also got this from them. It's by AMT. It's a decal pack of a bunch of New York stuff. Pretty cool, pretty cool. But the one I was interested in most was the DOT. I also want to specify that this is a DOT truck, and I've seen one picture of a DOT service truck, but it's like a modern one. I have no idea what a vintage DOT truck is, if any of them are even around, what color they'd be, so I based it mostly on that one. Because I can't find a single picture of a vintage service truck for DOT. All I could find is a modern one, the big trucks, and that's it. So I based it mostly on that, but just done with a vintage, you know, 60s truck. The weathering was mostly done with craft paints. I used this raw umber to do all the dirt that's kicked up all around here. Mostly just dry brushing, going a little heavier in some areas. For these little rails right here, I would go super heavy and then just wipe it off with my finger to make it look like there's just dirt packed into those. And I would just dry brush it a little bit upwards. Again, this truck's being driven every day, so it's not very rusty or any. I mean, it is very rusty, but it's still mechanically working. That's why I didn't do like underneath the hood weathering and stuff like that. I just wanted to give it the impression that it's still a running and driving truck, but I didn't want it to be one of those things that's just sitting out in the field dead. It's still being driven. So that was my idea with this truck. Going around to the back, I put another DOT sticker there, painted that silver. You may notice over here there's a lot of weathering. That's not for cosmetic. What actually happened was let me actually find it. I was using this to put in the glass for this model because before I've been using this to put in glass for models, which it works, but if you get it on the windshields, like if it streaks down, it kind of screws up things, and that happened in a couple of builds. It happened with the Charger. You can see right there. It holds the glass pretty good, but you have to be very careful. What happened was this tester's glue wasn't coming out when I was trying to put just the smallest amount in there to get these taillights in. And then suddenly it just gushed out. So I had to try to wipe it. It removed some paint. So that's me trying to salvage it. It looked bad, believe me. In the back, we have a whole bunch of stuff. Did a whole bunch of weathering. I started with silver. Silver was the main color that I started with to do scratches. Then I went to the raw umber to make the whole bed look like it's dirty. All these shovels and everything I weathered. This is all part of a set. This is not kit supplied stuff. The only thing kit supplied back here is the spare tire. I got the cooler, a little toolbox, shovel, broom, pickaxe, caution sign that's been folded up. I was going to have it sticking up, but it sat way too high, and I couldn't fit anything else in the bed, so I think they unfold like that in real life, so whatever, it worked. Going around to the side of the truck. Just had a really, really fun time with this, doing something different. I've been trying to do work-themed vehicles, so I think that they're kind of interesting to do. That's why I got the Massey Ferguson over there. That thing's going to be a pain, but I think it's going to be awesome. The wheels were just painted white with a black wash in them to make them dirty and nasty looking. I mean, overall, I'm pretty happy with this truck. I didn't expect it to turn out this good, you know? Did a little bit of fuel stains there with a brown wash. Back of the mirrors are all dirty. The interior, I did weather it. Kind of hard to see. You can see the seats are pretty dirty. Yeah, let me show the underside of this thing. I gotta get everything out of the bed first, so I gotta pause. I guess before I flip the truck over, I should show you what the inside of the bed looks like before I flip it over. You can see it's pretty dirty, pretty scratched up. I used acrylic silver to scratch it up, by the way. Scratch surfaces don't stay shiny for very long unless they're being constantly scraped. So my theory there, even though it's technically a metallic paint, acrylic dries kind of flat, kind of semi-gloss. So it's not super, super shiny, but it does look like it is scratched. So that was my way of thinking there. Here's the underside of the truck. I almost put it on its side and almost broke the mirror. But yeah, you could see just where I extended the drive shaft, which is right here. Yeah, this is where the drive shaft stopped on the kit. I hand-painted the exhaust silver. I did paint that all with the chassis and then hand-painted it after and then rusted it up. I used a lot of Citadel Typhus corrosion all over the frame. You could see just how crusty and rusty it is. You can see that the paint forms like a texture. Again, here in New York, they're gonna get very, very rusty. Did a lot underneath the fenders where the salt's gonna kick up. And I did sand the tires, but not heavily. It's a work truck, so it's not gonna be driving on bald, tires that are about to dry rot and explode or something. So that's the underneath, pretty heavily rusted. And the box isn't rusted, or the bed. I guess maybe that part is too, but it's probably aluminum, so just gonna get dirty. And it is, you can see some of the silver, because I did use a lot of silver when I was weathering, which is actually kind of a good color to use when you start weathering and scratching things up. You can see the engine, again, kept very good, because it is a driving truck. All right, let me flip it back over for the final. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this thing. I'm looking forward to doing the Massey Ferguson. Just trying to do something different, I'm trying to get motivated again. I've been not feeling all that well with things. I don't know. Just ever feel like you're not motivated or something, just maybe try something different. If you're feeling like you're losing interest in something. And you know what? This definitely revitalized that. I feel a lot better. I feel much more excited to work on something. And I think it turned out pretty good. So I'm curious what you guys think down in the comments. Yeah, I think that'll just about do it. And I'll see you guys next time.